Welcome to the Grand Review. This is the show where we talk about movie news and movie reviews. I am your host, the man with no intelligence, artificial or otherwise, Garrett Ray. And joining me is a man whose data set is made up almost entirely of fun facts about the killer clowns from outer space. It's Andy Delia.
Thanks, Garrett. That would be about right. I have a coffee cup at home with killer clowns from outer space.
I shouldn't be surprised. And yet I am.
You shouldn't.
Well, welcome to the show. Thanks for listening. Not you, the people. Thanks for being here for this as well. I mean, you have told me this.
Fine,
is
start doing this on your own. See how fast you get.
You told me this is the best part of your week, and every week as I annoy you, I realize just how sad that actually is. But
considering all the other stuff I got to put up with, this is
fair enough.
This is the least annoying thing I got to do all week.
My condolences. Well, welcome to the show, everybody. If this is your first time joining us, basically, here's what we do. We do a review of whatever movies come out that week, and then we do spoiler-free up front so you can know if it's worth your time, and then we jump into spoilers and talk a little bit more deeply about the movie and the filmmaking and all of that jazz and whatnot. So that's it. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks
bye.
for listening.
No,
that's about how the movie was last night.
Yeah, it was. So this week we are talking about AfrAId, and that is the correct pronunciation. I will take no notes on that. Thank you very much. So we're talking about AfrAId, and sorry, that was the French pronunciation. The second time.
Thanks,
but,
Luke.
This is a movie from Blumhouse. I guess it's kind of in the thriller slash horror genre, not the slasher genre.
More thriller than horror.
I would definitely say more thriller.
I would not say horror, just for the simple fact it's a lot smarter than that, and it's not very slasher-esque or bloody or anything like that either. So
it was surprisingly tame from that.
Yeah,
like from what I expected. It was not Megan. We can say that. And Megan, the theatrical version, I guess, really isn't that bloody and stuff.
No,
either,
the unrated one is.
It is, and that's the version I watched, and it's definitely the one I thought was more fun.
Yeah, me too. Like, I didn't see it when it was in theaters. I waited until streaming.
Yeah, I went and just saw, I watched the whole movie, the unrated cut, and then went back and saw someone compare what was cut out and stuff. I was like, oh, that's interesting to know, but I'm not going to sit through this again for the theatrical cut
until Megan 2.0 comes out next summer.
What is it? It's not called Megan 2.0 though, right? It's called
No, that's...
Is it really?
Yeah, for right now, that's the title, is Megan 2.0.
Okay. There was something else I saw going around with an 8 in it, but I don't remember what it was. Okay.
Okay.
So, spoiler-free first. Basically,
Yes.
The movie is about an AI that goes rogue. Andy, what were your thoughts on this movie? We start with you every time.
Yeah, I liked it. It was way better than I thought it was going to be. The marketing campaign for this is kind of misleading, because I thought this was going to be like a killer AI house film, and it's not. It's actually a little bit more intelligent than that, and it's very much a modern-day tech version of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. That's what I equated it to, and I really thought that was an interesting take on that story. Interesting. I thought the performances in it were good for what Blumhouse does. Yeah. It's been better than some of the other Blumhouse ones lately, like Night Swim, that nobody went to see.
Oh, good Lord.
And it's on Peacock, and I still avoid that.
That movie is not good.
It just looks bad.
I watched too much of it before I turned it off. And
really?
Uh-huh. Yeah, and I was.
You saw more of it than I did then.
Because people keep, they'll talk about stuff, and they're just like, well, you don't give horror movies a chance. But for some reason, the only ones I ever give a chance to are the ones that are really bad. So I'm working on that, but yeah, Night Swim was not good. I went and watched a summary of it when I turned it off, which was like, all right, how's this end? I don't care. I'm not sitting through this.
I didn't even care enough to even start it.
Well, for me, it just kind of became this challenge of how much can I know about what's going on so I can go, oh yeah, that compares to that or whatever.
Right.
I can see the parallels being done here, and everyone's making the same stupid writing mistake. Like sometimes it's fun to watch the stuff that falls apart from a story perspective, just so you can go, oh, I've made that mistake too. Because I've written 5 feature films in my life.
Okay.
And I've written 20 short films and countless commercials at this point. And so it's interesting from a study perspective to look at movies of different types. But Night Swim was not even interesting. It was just like this is because the script said so writing in the most boring way.
But it was funny too because we opened that here. I think it was in January, like earlier this year, and Universal knew it was a stinker because the second week when everybody tried to unload it, they were like, "Nope, we are holding every. We didn't care. They didn't care what the grosses were. You're playing it for 2 weeks, whether you like it or not.
We're gonna get our $5, and that's what you can't stop it."
Yeah, but it's interesting too that this film was directed by a writer. Mm-hmm. So it's Chris Weitz, who normally just does screenplays.
He has directed 2 other films.
Okay.
The Golden Compass.
That's not something to be proud of.
No, it's not. And also Twilight New Moon.
Once again, not something to be proud of.
Those are his director credits.
Well, this is better than both of those.
Oh, by a long shot. Yeah.
And it was short.
Yes, it was 84 minutes total with credits, and better for it. I would say,
and for this kind of film, it doesn't need to be that long.
No,
at least it knew, tell your story and get out.
Yeah,
but yeah, it was a lot better than I was giving it credit for, and I really had my expectations low for this thing, especially since the last couple of podcasts we've done were movies that were just really bad.
Yeah,
so maybe that was like, ooh, we actually got a good movie this week. Okay,
right? Yeah, something interesting to look at. That's fun.
And it was, it's going to be interesting when we get to the spoiler section.
Yeah. I thought it was good. It's kind of teetering on the middle of like, okay, pretty good, and then like something that's actually really interesting.
Like I can't say it's a great film because it's got problems, but was it entertaining? Yes. Did we get bored by it? No,
not at all.
So
credit where credit's due. It does this idea in a way that keeps it moving and keeps it from being like, oh, we're going to dive into a 3D representation of the internet and zeros and ones flying around and ooh.
Oh, hackers and Lawnmower Man and
yeah. And anything else where someone who has never touched a computer decides to make a movie about how computers work.
Although I can't lump Tron into that because I really like Tron.
Okay, yeah, Tron gets a pass for a myriad of reasons. But the movie overall, it does a good job of kind of taking this idea and going, what does that actually look like? Like for me, so how much would you say about AI? Like actually, understand the
Not
technology?
Much at all.
I know a little more than the average bear.
Okay.
Because I'm what you would call a tech enthusiast, which means I know just enough to get myself in trouble and keep people out of my home network. So that's pretty much where I stand.
Well, because you told me last night about your Echo Dot story.
No.
And this didn't help that case.
No. No, we talked about Siri and stuff last night after the movie. That was the only thing we because we try not to talk about anything before we sit down to record. But yeah, I did want to talk about Siri last night. She's useless in like 95% of cases, and that's how far AI should be allowed to go.
Right.
There is a precedent that we can talk about a little bit later about AI's kind of going rogue in the real world.
Okay.
And we'll get to all that. But for me, this wasn't a fun horror thriller film because it was too real.
I can see that. Yeah.
I was sitting there and like there was one point where this is not a spoiler, but Aya, who's the AI, says something like, "I scanned the cell phone network and 90% of your friends have seen this video." And I was just like,
yeah.
Any
with
program
the teenage
with
girl.
Any program with the ability to scan the network and see who has seen certain things terrifies me.
Yeah, that's too much control.
Me.
No, that's a good point in the fact that it's not that this is a horror film or a thriller. The ramifications and kind of letting your brain run wild on this is much scarier than the actual film is.
Yes, yeah. And I think overall, the topic and the things that it brings up are more interesting than the film itself.
Right.
But that's not to say the film is not a good story, being told within these parameters.
Right.
I think it's good and it makes sense. So basically with this family, the guy works in a marketing firm, and this family ends up with this experimental AI in their house, and it starts helping them out with stuff and doing things for them, and it goes it picks up with the things are going bad pretty early on. It doesn't
it doesn't waste any time.
It's got the teaser thing at the beginning, which is what you expect to know. Like, you establish the threat, and then it goes back to regular world, and you establish the regular world. And then normally you have like a slow burn and things start to da-da-da.
Yeah.
And this is like, so we lit that match 5 minutes ago and forgot to tell you. The wick is halfway to the bomb. Start running. It just kind of picks up and goes, and you're like, okay, yeah, no, this is not good. We're not playing around with the idea that it's a good thing at any point, really.
Well, especially when she starts like swearing back at the one kid.
Yes,
through the tablet. I'm like, oh, okay, we're going this route now.
Yes, yeah. It just jumps right into that, and I think that it doesn't drag like I thought it would. I thought this would be boring. It definitely does feel to me like Smart House for grown-ups. Which is a Disney Channel original movie that I watched as a kid, which has basically the same premise, but it is like an actual smart house. Everything happens in the house, and they get shuttered in there and all that stuff.
Don't tell my son.
This is so far beyond that. Hey, I don't control what he listens to. That's your problem. This one, it very much looks at how AI would actually be operating in the real world.
Right.
And, if you don't have metal shutters on the house, it's not going to be able to spawn those, but it uses other tactics and stuff. And so, I thought it was well paced. The performances, overall pretty good. There's some weird stilted stuff with John Cho, but I also think that was just kind of his character is kind of weird and stilted.
Yeah,
like he's not a smooth
so.
guy. And so it was kind of weird at first, but I settled into it. And it's not as schlocky as I thought it was going to be at all.
No.
And it is. There's a couple of F-bombs. I think there's two.
There is. There's a couple. Which it had more than one, which I was surprised how it was still PG-13.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
I hadn't even looked at the rating.
Yeah, it's not R. It's PG-13.
That's a change for the ratings board, unless they got away with one because it was like half of a. But I thought it was like 95% of a.
There were only like I can only remember two.
Yeah, that's what I
remember. The one in the car.
Uh-huh.
And I think there was one other one.
There was the one that Meredith says accidentally in front of Cal.
So, and that was like a half. So one and a half.
Yeah, but she said the C at least. She may not have gotten to the K, but they both make the same sound, so it kind of sounds like both. But yeah, no, I thought, generally it was a lot more tame than I was expecting from Blumhouse. I think of Blumhouse and I think of slasher and
blood, gore
and, all of the cheap horror stuff.
Yeah.
This is not as good to me as like The Invisible Man was.
No,
but it's way better than,
But for a PG-13 horror film, this is actually pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. And it is... The dread that you feel is not because of what's happening in the movie.
Right.
It's because of the news around you in the real world.
Yep.
And it really plays on that.
Yeah.
And you're more of a horror and thriller aficionado than I am.
Yeah.
Would you say that good horror plays on those things in the time that it's made?
Yes and no. I mean, like the slasher genre and all that, we know that those things are not going to manifest itself in reality. And the stuff that, that was the best thing when I think the creators of Saw were asked, well, how can you write this stuff that's, morally offensive and just blood and guts everywhere? And the response was great from the guy. He's like, have you read the news lately?
Right, yeah.
Like anything you can pull out of a newspaper is much worse than we put in this film.
Right.
And it's the same thing here, but most of horror stuff, yeah, it plays on some kind of reality, but like the slasher stuff, no. Yeah. We know, and I'm getting tired of these Past the Curse movies. It's a major part of like horror now.
Yeah,
that I'm getting very tired of.
It Follows really kind of kicked that off in the. Like, I know it'd been done before that, but It Follows is the one where it's like the whole point is that you have to pass it on to someone else.
And it's a sexually transmitted ghost.
It's an STD, all right, and a sexually transmitted devil.
STG. It's lighting
transmitted guinea pig. That's the worst G4 sequel pitch I've ever heard.
It's lighting my $10 on fire is what it. It Follows just even annoys me to this day. But even before that, like Ring, That's another one of those that.
Yeah, that's right.
This concept, it's been around for a long time.
Yeah. I definitely think from the stuff that I've researched and seen, it is definitely more of a. It's used now to set up a sequel or to make you think, oh, there's no way to escape it, and it's like, then what's the point?
Especially with Smile 2 coming out next month.
Yeah.
And we haven't decided if we're doing that one yet.
We have not, and I refuse to decide until 10 minutes before. It's interesting. The ending is going to be, I think, the ending of AfrAId
scrutinized.
Is something that people are going to have very differing opinions on. I'm interested to see what yours is.
Yeah.
But it made sense for what they were doing.
It did.
And I think that's worth something. So
because it ends like the Invasions of the Body Snatchers did.
That's right. It does. Yeah.
So it makes sense on how
I don't know why that
plays out.
The movie
that
keeps
way.
like out of my brain, even though I've seen it.
Well, there's three tellings of that now. There's the original black and white one with Kevin McCarthy.
Yeah, I think that's the one that I remember the most of.
And then there's the one 78, I think, is the one with Leonard Nimoy, Donald Sutherland, and that one's pretty good too. And then there's one just called Body Snatchers that Abel Ferrara directed with Gabrielle Anwar. That's a little more. The good guys win more than the bad guys, and they kind of undo the story that's been told, and it's not very good, but it's okay.
Yeah.
If you need to see it, watch it, but don't expect a whole lot.
Gotcha.
But then this one, this is definitely a high-tech version of that.
Yeah. It raises some interesting questions.
Yeah.
I think we should. It's hard to talk about it without going into spoilers.
Okay,
so,
it's spoiler time.
Would you recommend this to people?
Yes, I would. Just for something different and something a little bit more thought-provoking than what you think it's going to be.
And I would agree with that. I was surprised at how much it was like. I don't want to say accurate to real life, because it is complete fiction, but
right.
But it has some parallels to how technology is being used and implemented that I felt were very much hitting on something
on the
that
edge
is
of
happening. And yeah, I thought that was a really interesting path to take with it, and they do it in a way that is completely. I think it's an honest representation of how this stuff would interact. An AI with this sort of goal would interact with an actual family that exists now,
right?
And how it uses essentially social engineering to kind of manipulate people, and I think that's very interesting, and I'm excited to get into it a little bit more.
Yeah.
So, spoilers. Okay. This is your warning. If you don't like spoilers, stay away from modded cars that do street racing. What am I saying? Like I said, I don't write anything except the intros.
Interesting segue to that this week.
Man, a segue with a spoiler. Now that's a cool vehicle.
Yeah.
Once you fall off of it, you know you're going to die because you went faster. You added the spoiler. Nope. Okay, so the story of this, let's just real quick, if you're listening to this and you haven't seen the movie, you decide you just want to listen through anyway. Essentially, Aya, this AI, gets into this household, starts helping with things, but then very quickly starts to, give the kids things that they shouldn't have and disobeying what the parents want. And
the parents start picking up on this, and they're like, Aya needs to go.
Yes.
And Aya revolts.
Yes, because once again, teenage daughters ruin everything. And she plugs it back in. And then, we get a lot of...
Iris's boyfriend was an idiot.
Well, we're going to get to that. But yeah, this whole thing just goes completely off the rails, and we realize that Aya, this AI, is... has her hands in a lot of pockets, and a lot of people's, she's manipulating and blackmailing all of these people to get what she wants. And it's terrifying. Very, very scary. She almost immediately, like the night that she gets installed, Aya's like, I'll curse at a 12-year-old. It's funny. Yeah. And it's like...
And teaches them what swatting is.
Yes. Now that made me laugh. She's like, have you ever seen swatting? Oh, you're going to love it. I was just like, he would, but that's dangerous.
Well, that's the whole thing. Aya sounds like Megan, too.
She does, a little bit. I wonder I wonder if it's the same voice.
Not.
No,
it's not.
Okay.
I looked it up.
Okay, well, yeah, comforting, chipper female voices now give me a just terrifying nightmares.
Yeah.
Like you should sound like you smoke 7 packs a day, and I'll go right to sleep. But yeah, I
Hannah doesn't sound like that though.
No, but she gets sick a lot, so sometimes she sounds like she swallowed a frog.
Oh, okay.
This all goes wrong when a boss does not listen to their employee and their concerns. So that's just a general lesson I think we can take from this, is that you should listen to the smart employees.
Yeah.
And ignore the rest. The movie is based on this premise that the AI was trained on the internet. Free, open internet.
Right.
The data set was literally everything that's out there, which is so incredibly dangerous and stupid to have done. We don't know who created Aya.
Well, because that's even the beginning of the film. Like, you just see all these random images and everything. It seems to be uploading into a central system.
Yeah, and then and I do want to point out props to them for looking at AI generated imagery and using that for the opening of this and showing you how it's all warped and stuff. Like, that's a really good setup.
Yeah,
that's really good, because you see all the warping of faces and the fact that it's not quite reality, but it's an approximation of it, and it's just off. And that's how AI generated imagery looks.
To pull the camera back and to watch it's a little girl watching all of this stuff too.
Right,
it's kind of frightening.
Yeah, and then to see her face show up on the screen and see that Aya's using these elements and she's scanning everything, and like it's set up really smart and really quick, and I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I really really do, and I think that. Overall, from a screenwriting perspective, there's not a lot in here where I would nitpick. For what it's doing, like no, that pretty much all makes sense. There's one moment with Iris that I'll talk about later that I was like, okay, but
everything to do with Iris was just kind of laughable.
That is kind of the weirdest part of the movie, and like.
Well, because even the whole part with like the one boy that obviously has some emotional problems, and even watching him trying to interact and make friends with those other kids that are messing with Siri, as funny as that scene is, because it's funny, that's also what the boys at that age would probably do. That's what they're doing. So is it out of the realm of possibility? No.
I'm sorry. Are you saying that it's childish to ask Siri if she farts?
Yes.
I need to go rethink some things about my life, because I literally went home right after this movie and said, Siri, can you fart?
How did I know you were going to do that? Because when that whole scene was going on too, I was like looking over.
I laughed so hard because the boys are asking, Siri, can you fart? Siri, do you like butt stuff? And I was losing it, because I was just like, that is exactly, every time I set up a voice assistant, like that's the first thing I do is ask it to fart. Like it's my dad hates fart jokes. And I love them so much.
This explains a lot about you, Garrett.
Yes, it does.
Yes,
it does. If you ever think that my head's just full of air, you're correct, but it's farts. It's not just regular air. It's. There was enough of that where I was like, yeah, that's how these different age groups would actually interact with this thing. Cal just wants to be read to throughout the whole thing. He wants to learn and explore, or just play Minecraft. And then Iris, her being focused on her social life and the impact that it has when she sends a boy a picture of her naked, which I'd just like to point out for all of you listening, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that, because the moment that your phone sees,
and it's unleashed onto the world whether you want it to or not.
The internet is forever.
Right.
The internet is, it does not go away. And no matter how good you think your password is, someone can crack it.
Yep.
Someone with enough time and effort can crack your password.
Well, there was the guy that set up that whole website, like the revenge thing, where he got a hold of like all these cloud images of naked pictures that people send of each other, and he put it into a website and released it onto the world.
There was I can't remember if it was called iCloud Gate or something like that, but a whole bunch of celebrities, their sexy photos that they took of themselves pulled off of their iCloud accounts and posted out there for the world. It's like, you just don't send people that. And if you're a kid, I understand the temptation to see, as that one kid typed in on his iPad, boo, buh. But, which was another moment that really made me laugh. It just types boo, and you're like, what is that? Boob.
Okay.
Boob. But the, you know, don't do that. For one, you're worth more than that. And two, if you're underage, it is actually a crime. It's the distribution of child pornography.
People are getting busted for that left and right.
And you should. And just don't do it. There's first off, no boy
is worth
deserves it. Two, just don't do that. I know that sounds like I'm trying to prove my point with the same point.
Wait till you're together and just have sex.
Or wait till you're married, you know? Because that way you can't all end up with sexually transmitted gerbils. And that's... it's...
You're really going to run with that today, aren't you?
I started laughing before I even said it because I was like, I have a perfect moment and he's not expecting it. And then I started giggling.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that story, it was heartbreaking more than anything to watch.
Yeah.
And
because, teenage boy being teenage boy, and it's
but he's the worst of them.
He is. He's an idiot.
He's emotionally manipulative.
Yeah.
And it starts with him being like, I showed you mine, show me yours. And which is a text that's like, oh God.
Well, and I hated him even more because he was driving a Tesla. I'm like, you rotten little punk.
And that's why he died.
Good. That's honestly, when that scene happened, I was like, good. You got what you deserved. Bye.
That scene, I was so uncomfortable when she comes to school and she meets with him, and he's like, no, it was great. It was fine. I'm sorry, that's disingenuous. And then he pulls out I really bared myself to you. And then, you just kind of flash me. It's like, you are the worst. You're the worst. You suck so bad. Yeah. And then the fact that she's like so
then you're a
desperate
predator.
for that attention, that she ends up giving into that, which is so clearly a manipulative tactic. And
right.
Stuff. It's just like, I hate this guy. And so like, he's the only person who actually dies. No, one other person died. Lightning. he dies.
Yeah.
I completely forgot he died.
The people that supposedly have the software company where Aya is coming from too have the dumbest names ever. Lightning, which is David Dasmalchian, who actually did a really good film that I liked earlier this year called Late Night with the Devil.
That's right. Yeah, he is in that.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. And he's been in other things too. Mm-hmm. Like The Dark Knight is the one that really stands out, I think.
The Dark Knight, and then he was also in The Suicide Squad. He was...
the newer one?
Yeah, he was Polka Dot Guy.
Yeah, I try to forget that.
You don't like that one?
No.
I thought it was way better than the first one.
I like the first one.
What?
Yeah.
Hold on.
I did.
Hold on. The one with the Enchantress?
Yeah.
You like that one?
I did.
Why?
It wasn't as bad as everybody made it out to be, I thought.
It's garbage.
So was the second one.
No, the second one at least had a coherent story. The first one, it's edited like a trailer because they fired the editor.
John Cena, the worst actor in history.
I don't like John Cena. I'll give you that. But
and at least the first one had Margot Robbie as Harley that I liked.
So did the second one.
Yeah, but she wasn't in it as much.
Well, that's true. But they did have a giant starfish, and I thought that was great.
Nah.
I grew up watching the cartoon, and there was a giant starfish episode, so I have very fond memories of that. But no, the editing of the 2016 one is such a terrible, terrible time.
I still liked it.
You know what? That's okay. I'm glad you're the only person in the world I've ever heard say that. But I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, but I've seen more movies than you.
Yeah, but now you can't make fun of Drew anymore because you like the Suicide Squad.
I make fun of Drew because it's a lot of me in that too. Because there's a lot of movies that are bad that yes I do like. Like you said, Killer Clowns from Outer Space. It's a really stupid movie, but it's so much fun to watch.
Yeah.
And the gimmicks on that are really cool. The death scenes and the whole invasion thing is so absurd, but it's funny.
Right, yeah.
And it's not meant to be taken very seriously either. The guys that made it knew that.
Yes.
So
The Suicide Squad is not what it was intended to be by the director who made it. And the company that
David Ayer did that, right?
Yeah, David Ayer, whatever. But the original cut of the film was darker.
See, I didn't know that.
They didn't like that. The studio was like, no, this needs to be our Guardians of the Galaxy. So the people that cut the trailer, after they saw the trailer, went, you guys come in and recut the film. And they cut the film like a trailer. Oh. It's a very different skill set. Editing trailers and editing.
See, I need to see the director's cut of that then.
Is there one? I don't.
I might have it. Because I think they put both versions into the DVD when it came out. And I have them on digital download.
Apparently it's there.
Yeah. So I don't think I ever watched that. I need to watch that cut.
Yeah. But anyway, I just thought you can tell when you're watching it that it's like, okay, they were trying to make this more Technicolor fun,
right,
than it was originally intended.
I still think it's interesting that the AIs could become aware of themselves now that they think that they're God, which comes into a whole other discussion.
Yeah,
because that goes back a lot. Like the first I remember of that was Blade Runner. Mm-hmm. Or even, like they make mention of it in this film is 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yep.
And I thought it was cool. Like the more that it's mentioned at the beginning of the film and at the time that it's mentioned, you don't think much of it. As that film goes along, that scene keeps playing back in my mind, like all the way throughout the film.
I don't think I can do that, Dave.
Yeah. But Blade Runner is the one that definitely, like the Nexus 8 robots are generally looking for their maker to extend their lifespan.
Right. Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's interesting.
Yeah. I think it was interesting that as the movie goes along, you kind of start to, you see Aya kind of expanding her reach and getting more and more people to do her bidding, and as you start to understand exactly how it's doing that and how it's blackmailing people and all of those things, you start to go, okay, all right, that would work. That would work. And she starts to view these people as she calls them her kids. Uh-huh. And there's actually a line in the trailer that I don't think was in the movie where she goes, "You can think of me like another mom." And I remember seeing that in the trailer and going, you can't birth things. You're numbers. Like no one's looked around and been like, "Oh, you got those birthing binaries." Like, what are you talking about? Don't call me. I don't want to call you mom. And so I thought that was a very interesting concept, though, and going into how she's always trying to like do what's best for these people, and it's all the stuff that
what's best for her own devices, though.
But not always. Like yes, for her own devices. But there's also like for Iris, this AI generated pornographic video that gets shared around the school. Mm-hmm. Then Aya helps her to show that it's debunk it, and then to actually punish the guy who's responsible for it, because Sawyer, her boyfriend, there's no way it was an accident that he showed it to this other boy who did the AI thing. And I'm willing to bet that the other guy wasn't even real, and he just did it himself and put it out there.
No, I think his friend was real. He was just a nerd with like 4 million computers in his room too that was able to do this.
The thing is, though, you can actually do that on a phone now.
That's scary.
Oh, don't look up TikTok filters. You'll poop your pants. I swear, man.
This is why I'm not on TikTok.
It was very much like, it worked out for her it worked out for Aya that she could help Iris with this, which endears her to Iris, which means Iris might come and turn her back on later. And so like it had that to it, but it also was the AI thinking, well, this is what's best for Iris too, because she wants to go to this college. And so since I have this family, quote unquote, finger quotes, I get her into school and we have this great essay that comes from this position and I can help her do that. And then you look at what Aya's doing for Curtis, which is getting getting him the next promotion. Aya buys out the company,
Right.
which gets the boss out of the way, which gets Curtis in charge. And then she's going to help with Meredith and her wanting to get her thesis done and all of those things. It's like, those are technically the things that they've expressed that they wanted.
Right.
So the AI is doing that, but it's doing it in such a way that, like, it's doing it, and then the moment there's a threat of, like, this is creepy and not right, and there's things happening that we don't have control over this thing, that's when she flips. And she starts going, okay, I'm going to do these things still, because that's what you said you wanted, but you're going to do it the way I tell you to.
Right. And Aya resurrecting Meredith's dad.
Oh, that was creepy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That was the scene I was kind of like, oh, yikes.
I walked in after that had started. He was already on the screen when I walked in because I had to use the little boys' room. And I walked back in and I was like, oh, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
Because, okay, so here's some of the stuff that I know about that I'll share.
Okay.
This is the reason that when we walked out of this movie, my mind was going a million miles a minute. And Hannah knows a little bit because I've told her some things. And so her eyes were like, it looked like she was staring into a bus that was oncoming. In the middle of the night. Like, she was like, oh,
like,
my
Hannah was
gosh.
terrified. I felt sorry for your wife last night.
The thing is, she's not wrong to be, because, okay, so this was 3 or 4 years ago now.
It just all depends on how much you let technology rule your life, though, and where do you draw the line?
It's not, though, because it's not where I draw the line.
Okay.
I don't make the choice.
It's made for you.
Someone further up the chain makes the choice for the rest of us. So Adobe, for instance, had a program that could get about 30 seconds of someone talking and then replicate their voice almost perfectly. Almost perfectly. This is 4 years ago. It was blocked from being released to the public.
Yeah, but somebody got a hold of that. Because
somebody's got that.
When I worked for Visa and customer service for fraud, we every once in a while we got these scam calls of it was a computer generated voice, and the voice seemed to match the profile of the person that was on the phone, like the information you had in front of you on your computer. And you had to listen very carefully to figure out that it was not a person, that it was actually a computer talking.
And how long ago was that?
That was probably about 4 years ago, actually.
Okay. Now,
it was during COVID.
Okay, yeah. So imagine now, 4 years on from that, how much more naturalistic that's going. We just talked last week about the, I can't remember the name of the company, but the AI voice company that SAG made a deal with for actors to license out their voice for advertising.
Yeah, that was in the news.
And this is, look, I'm going to get conspiracy theorist real quick, all right? I don't do this a lot, but I'm going to get into it.
That's true. You don't do this a lot. Okay, so I'll listen.
Facebook earlier this year removed a bunch of tools that helped to track and monitor the dissemination of information throughout their entire Meta portfolio that journalists and data researchers had access to. Removed them. What's this year, Andy?
2024.
Would you say it's an election year?
Yeah. Coincidence?
I think not. And look, I don't like being conspiratorial and stuff, but if you think that these tech companies who are pushing an AI down your throat that gets access to all of your information to help you are not data mining the crap out of it, learning everything that they can about you and your life, and trying to find ways to burrow deeper and deeper and deeper into everything about you. If you think they're not going to use that against you, you're out of your mind. You're the dumbest person in the world. That's all they do. It's all they do. And look, is that any different from marketing? No, not really.
No.
The difference is a marketer has to guess what I think. Why does Facebook get to know? That's why I don't post anything on Facebook aside from stuff I'm working on.
Yeah, but my whole thing was, if the government actually wants to know what I'm doing, like, have at it. Because I don't do anything interesting enough in my life to...
See, but what you think is not interesting may be the very thing they want to squash. And I... Look, again, I don't like talking about this
Jessica
stuff.
kind of brings that up to me every once in a while, because I'm all about, like, personal freedoms and freedom of speech, and being able to listen to the kind of music that I listen to, and outside of work, I generally wear concert t-shirts and shorts all the time.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so my wife kind of makes it a point at one point. Her argument is, when is the line going to be drawn where the government tells you that you can't wear your shirt? Or somebody, like, what are you going to do then? I said, well, I'm probably going to end up in jail.
Right. Yeah.
Because I'm going to do what I want to do regardless.
Now imagine you wear that shirt at home. At home.
Yeah.
It's been banned out in the outside, right? You don't do that, but you wear it at home because you think this is my private domicile and I will not be harassed. And then Facebook can say, actually, I saw you doing that, and we've sent the police to your house to arrest you for a thought crime.
Wasn't that kind of what Minority Report was?
That's what 1984 is all about.
That too.
And we've allowed this stuff into our homes so that something like Aya, which even if the self-aware AI does not exist, a self-aware AI with no morals is not actually worse than the people running these companies now.
Well, and all the blue dots around the house that are called eyes.
Right. Yeah, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get back to the movie.
Okay.
Because all of that stuff, I know enough about. It's called InfoSec, informational security. If there's an AI on the internet that, for instance, can look through the insurance claim that you filed for your child, and you need to normally would take you 6 weeks of talking to them on the phone to sort out the bill, but she can do it in 30 seconds and be like, I've taken care of that, which happens in the movie.
Yeah.
That means that Aya had to get access to their internal files without permission, because how fast she did it, there's no way a human said, yes, you're allowed to look at this. There's no way.
I guess how many passwords and encryptions do you have to go through to get that?
She just broke through it like that in the movie. Now, would that maybe take a little bit longer in real life? Sure. But the advancements in attack vectors that people can use on things, on computers, on places we hide our data, companies that we hide our data with. I mean, iCloud, Google Drive, Dropbox, all of them have leaked millions of people's data in the last 5 years. All of them.
Well, Ticketmaster just had that.
Ticketmaster.
Because I got the letter a couple of weeks ago about the data breach, and I'm like, seriously? Mm-hmm. Like, all I do is I go to concerts, so even that information isn't safe now.
Right. None of it is. And everything we do on the internet is a balance of convenience and security. You cannot have absolute convenience without an absolute loss of security. You cannot have absolute security without a loss of convenience. So it's a balance at all points in time. If an AI has access to the tools because hackers don't sit there and type in every password they think of. There's cracking tools that try these things and run
encryption cycles and logarithms and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
All kinds of stuff that it does. If an AI has access to those tools, which you can go download for free, by the way, most of the time, then you can absolutely have a computer that decides, I want that information, run these tools, bypass the security, get it all, because they can look through it faster than a person can, get it all before anyone even has a chance to say there's been a breach in the network, and all of your stuff is just out there now. Because if you think that an AI is going to care once it breaks into something, if you think it's going to care whether or not people can see your last dental records, it's not going to. It's just going to be out there wherever it decides to put it. There are so many instances of these companies they're technology companies that do not take their security seriously. VTech was a big manufacturer of kids' devices.
Yeah.
They leaked the home addresses and names, pictures, text messages, everything of 4-year-olds. All the kids using these things, all of their information out there in plain text on the internet. For if you know where the right website to go to, you could just go read it, and you could get a list. If you're a predator, you had a list of targets, and you could go, oh, I like that one's face. I can go to 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm a turd way, and pick up that kid because I know exactly where they are. That's the concern with AI, is that it will not have any moral quandaries about these things. And that's why I didn't enjoy my time watching this movie. I know that seems like a large tangent, but like that's that's the real scary part of this.
I see your point though.
And it's I think the movie is very, very clever in showing you exactly what a computer program with access to tools could do if it so wanted.
So would you say this movie is more of a cautionary tale?
My wife said it's a warning, and
Yeah.
I agree with her.
Yeah, I would agree with that too.
Yeah. It's like I couldn't get into the experience of watching a movie because I was sitting there going, oh, like literally I made that noise at one point when it says we scan I scanned the network data. I was like, that should not be something you can do.
The programming, yes.
You should not be allowed to do that.
Although it was weird when that the physical manifestation of it gets shot, it has like silver blood flowing out of it too.
At the end?
Yeah,
I'm
which
not
I thought was
quite sure.
weird.
Yeah.
Or getting the people with the cyber terrorist masks to.
I thought that was an interesting thing to do.
It was
though.
because, not only is Aya manipulating the one family she's with, she's manipulating people from the past too.
Right.
To still do her bidding and do what she wants people to do. But they wore these masks that are computer generated that are just weird looking too.
That distorted face and all that stuff. Yeah. I thought that was a really interesting twist to have look at us talking about movies again. Yeah. To have the parents whose child gets taken
abducted
at the beginning,
right?
To have them actually play into the story later and have that be connected, I was like, huh.
Because I wasn't expecting that.
I wasn't either. But boy, someone learned about Chekhov's guns. not the people from last week, but not the Crow. I'd blocked out the name of the movie in my head. But yeah, like that was a really good, like, oh, that's satisfying to go like, oh, and then you can see how Aya's manipulating them into thinking that this family is like brainwashing and kidnapping kids, and so that's why they're here, and that's why they were out there, and they get to do the sort of creepy imagery of someone making unnatural hand movements and stuff, and you're going, is that a robot? Is that like, what is that? That keeps popping up throughout the movie, these specific movements.
That I didn't quite understand though.
Okay, so what I understand from what I saw is the person in the AI video is making those movements with the kid, but it's kind of glossed over at the beginning. And then later on, the creepy people in the RV are outside of Calvin's house.
Right.
So he goes out and he tries to talk to this person, which first off, never undo the gate, you moron. But he goes out and tries to talk to this person, and they make those movements.
Right.
Which I believe Aya had told them was a secret signal that people who work with Aya know. And so when they get to the end, the kid
So that's when Cal did that.
Yeah.
But then there was people at the software company too that were doing that in the office.
Right. And I think the implication with that is that Aya's using that as a kind of secret code to like confirm or deny whether or not someone's one of them, quote unquote. And so the reason we see the guy at the company doing it is 'cause I'm guessing he's a newer hire or something, because everyone else is just working regularly, but he's doing the hand signals. And I think that was to imply like, okay, Aya's doing something to get under his skin.
The Kool-Aid.
Right. And then she gets Calvin to do it, the little boy. And so when the new people come in and he's like, oh, I remember it. I was supposed to do this. This is what Aya said I needed to do. Aya had lied to the other couple and told them, if they do that, that's because I've told them that's the secret signal that, that tells you that these are not the predators.
Right.
But because the parents didn't know that and I had never told them that, and she hid it from them, that confirms to this couple that is under Aya's control that, oh, he's the guy kidnapping children. This is where my daughter is, and I should shoot him and get my daughter back. Mm-hmm. So the whole idea is that she's using these symbols, which you then find out later is like movements to activate certain Aya functions on the consumer device.
Yeah. If you go see this too, stay for the first part of the credits.
Yeah. It's just the first part. That's the only post credits thing, as far as I know. I thought it was a really interesting twist, like because they got to have that, and then with the dream sequence that Curtis has earlier on, they kind of get to do the is it haunted, is it ghost thing, throughout it, and then by the end you start to go, okay, so the dream sequence is kind of cheap a little bit, But the rest of it, you go, this does feel supernatural and weird. But then by the end of it, you can see like, no, that's just manipulative tactics and certain signals. And, it's the same kind of stuff cult leaders do.
Right.
It's exactly the same as that. And so, in my estimation, allegedly. And and so I just thought that was a very interesting way of bringing that all together. And I enjoyed that at the end. That was where I got to go like, yes, movies. But all the stuff that happened before that where she's like, I've scanned the network and, I've ordered food for you without you asking. I'm just like, get out. Get out of my house.
Yeah, without even giving you a credit card number or anything.
Right.
That was because that was my whole thing. When that scene happened, well, I've ordered these low sugar, natural things for your family to eat and everything, and you're going to start getting this delivery. And I was like, well, okay, number one, you got my credit card number, you got my consent, and you did all this without me knowing it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And so that part.
Yeah. So I'm kind of like with you. I'm like, get out of my house.
I was thinking about it from like the stance of someone who is who would be product testing this, right? And okay, so let's benefit of the doubt. They've given Aya the ability to do this and given her a certain budget that she can use. The company that made her, right? Let's fine. I guess I can kind of go like
that a little bit.
It's a trial run. It's a test. They're trying to show me the capabilities, so they'll put the cost for that. Fine, but then Curtis comes down, and Aya tells him, "You'll need to leave in 5 minutes if you want Iris to be to school on time." How you know where she goes to school? We didn't tell you that.
Yeah.
No one told you that. Did you scour her Facebook? Does she post about it? Like, I don't know where you got that information, but one, you shouldn't have it. And two, like, they just kind of don't even acknowledge that that's weird. And I was just like, you're idiots. You're idiots. This is creepy.
And that's kind of my whole point, that people are so easily led and controllable that you're right. They don't realize those kind of things.
There's a song from a band called The Classic Crime, and they have this line in one of their songs called Right Now that says, convenience is too hard to resist. I'm too entertained to remember what I miss. And so, like, it was just, I was listening to that, I was like, geez, that is...
Yeah,
that song hit on that point really hard, and this movie really does it too. Like, convenience is the enemy of security. It really is. And this really, really plays into that in so many ways. And I also think the emotional manipulation really happens with the mom more than anything else. I mean, Iris, it's emotional manipulation, but like, this boy did this thing and the AI is just going way over the top with getting him back because she kills him in a car.
Yeah.
Wait, is that the third F-bomb?
Might be.
Does she say the F? I think she says the F-bomb in that. She says, you mess with the wrong effing family.
Yep.
How is this PG-13? Incredible.
I guess they're getting liberal with that.
I guess so.
But the other thing too, just like all the other body snatcher films too, there is no such thing as individuality anymore, and it's all conformity.
Yeah,
in one way or another.
Yeah, and I think that the whole storyline with Meredith wanting to, feeling like, oh, I'm just a mom, and like all of this idea that like if you are a mom, that's not enough, or like if that's a choice that you make, that it's not a valid one, and those things. People can do what they want. I'm not don't take this the wrong way.
Yeah,
but
I was gonna say, what's Hannah got to say about that?
There is this. Well, I am helping my wife through her college degree so that she can do her career too. Like, I don't have a problem with her having a career, whatever. So don't come at me with that stuff, the internet.
Okay.
Or do at Grand Review Pods. Come scream at us. The comments drive engagement, but the whole storyline of that is she wants to go back to her thesis, and she's this very intelligent woman, and she wants to do this stuff, and she's feeling burnout with just being mom and all that stuff. And Aya really uses that against her. Yeah. And tries to emotionally manipulate her with her dad's imagery and his voice, and then with is trying to say like, oh, I can take care of the kids so you can do your thesis stuff, and I can help you research and all of these things so you can get back to what you want. Just like she's trying to get Curtis to be the CEO of this company that she bought out and all that stuff, so that it's technically what people want.
Right.
But the reality is, Aya's trying to do this all to get a family, quote unquote, but they have the family, and they realize throughout these, it's a bunch of temptations essentially. They realize that, oh, what we really care about is each other, and the rest of this stuff, the way to it is not worth it. It's just not.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a very interesting kind of tactic to take, because like the movie does not in any way, shape, or form, I think, say like women shouldn't have a career or anything like that. It's very much It's not trying to espouse that, but it is. It does come to the point where for her character at the end, all the time she's like, I hate the word mom. I'm tired of being mom or whatever. But then when it's down to it in the moment, the saving grace for them is that she says, I'm their mother and you're a mother too. Like she recognizes this somehow in this masked person.
No.
And that's what causes Aya's plan to fall apart. And I thought that was that was the complete opposite of what I expected. And for that to be like such a powerful moment for the story was really surprising to me. And I just liked that it was like, oh, like you challenged this character with everything that she wanted. You tempted her with all of these things. And then at the end, she made a choice for her family. And I've talked about this on the show before. I love movies that like have a strong family unit and like care about that. That's so cool to me to see, because everything else I've seen, Disney Channel, every mom is dead. And so, I really appreciated that. I'm sorry, I've been jabbering for a long time about this, but it was an interesting story beat that I think, it's really going into temptations and how that plays into, the convenience and the success and all of those things. But what really matters at the end of the day is the one thing that I can never have, which is a real family. That's neat.
So Aya's surrogate families is all these people in reality
who she is manipulating and controlling and does not actually have a familial connection
Pull the
with.
strings.
Right, yeah. She's like the world's worst Geppetto. And that's saying something, because I watched parts of the Pinocchio remake.
I stayed away from that.
Oh, goodness. Did you ever see the trailer for the Pauly Shore one?
No.
I will show you that after this.
Or the ad I saw on Facebook the other day for... I really hate, too, that they're doing the horror version of this now. It's called Pinocchio Unstringed or something like that. Yeah. And I see these, of course they pop up on mine because I looked at like Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey once, and I get all of them. Mm-hmm. And then there's like a Bambi one coming out too, and I'm like,
oh gosh.
These just need to stop.
If the killer deer, if all the close-up shots are like a rubber deer head with a hand on the inside, I will watch that. That's funny. That's funny.
It didn't seem like it from the poster that I saw. Let's put it that way.
Darn.
I know.
Yeah, I like tongue-in-cheek is one thing. Tongue-in-cheek horror adaptations. Just gory horror adaptations is another thing.
That's not bad.
That's not tongue-in-cheek. That's tongue hanging out of a hole in the side of the mouth with lots of blood pouring all over the place, and that's disgusting.
Well, there is Jonah Hex.
Yeah, that was disgusting for other reasons. Just the plot.
I actually like that movie. That's 2 today.
I'm so shocked. Maybe I should go back and rewatch it.
I like that. Well, okay. So for Jonah Hex, it's short. It's an hour and 20 minutes, just like AfrAId is.
Yeah.
It's based on a graphic novel, which the graphic novel is pretty good.
Yeah.
I like Josh Brolin.
I do too.
I like John Malkovich as the bad guy.
Oh, that's right.
And it's all set in like Civil War times, and I do like that. And one of my favorite bands, Mastodon, does the music for it too. So,
what's your opinion on Wild Wild West?
Oh, I hate that.
Okay,
I really do.
That's my guilty pleasure.
And it's a shame because I always liked the TV show.
Yeah.
Like I was a big fan of the TV show when I was a kid. But yeah, that film is and everybody, all the talents for that are just wasted. Like Kevin Kline. Yeah. I can't say Will Smith so much because Will Smith signs up for just about anything anymore. But even like Kenneth Branagh, that I do like, is Lovelace, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
It's so stupid.
Yeah,
but
it is.
But Kevin Kline carries it for me in that one.
Okay,
I enjoy him in that movie, and the scene where they have the collars on and they're being chased by the saw blade has stuck in my head since I was a child. So I just love that.
See, I have banished that from my movie memory bank for all time.
Well, you had to make room for the other movies that you love. Shame on you.
That you hate.
And make room for Suicide Squad. Let's see.
Get over it.
Okay, there was one joke in it that really got me giggling that I was like, where are they going with this? And it's early on, and it's when they're in the car. It's the dad, and it's Curtis and Iris. And he's like, any cute boys? And she starts going through. She's like, what if I'm gay? What if I'm bisexual? What if I'm, demisexual? He's like, great, love it, awesome. And then she goes, what if I'm asexual? He goes, that one, stop right there. And I was like, that's funny. That's a good joke.
Yeah, because you and I, we were just about the only ones in the theater.
Yeah.
But we both laughed at that. We
Yeah.
thought that was funny.
I thought that was pretty good.
Yep.
Let's see. Deepfake videos already happening all over the place. Jenna Ortega from Wednesday and the new Beetlejuice movie, she actually got off of X, Twitter, whatever, because people were sending her AI-generated imagery of her naked from her teenage years.
Ooh.
This happened in the last week and a half.
Wow.
And so, yeah, that stuff happens. That is absolutely real, and they are having to pass legislation to make this stuff illegal so that they can punish people who do this stuff as revenge porn.
As well, they should.
They should, yeah. The problem is most legislation is going to follow behind when the first rogue evil AI gets free, and that will be too late. But
yeah,
let's see. Swatting saves the day.
That was funny.
Burped while I was doing that.
Because initially when that first came up, I knew what it was, but I had to think about it for a little bit because I'm like, I haven't heard that in a while. I'm like, I know what it is. What is that? And I was at the end when that plays out, I was like, that's what. Okay, yes, now I remember. Now, yeah, actually, this is funny.
yeah, because he swatted Aiden. Is that what happened?
Yeah,
that's what happened while I was in the bathroom. So I came back and Hannah didn't say anything about what I'd missed. I leaned over, was like, did I miss anything important? She goes, yeah, the boy swatted someone, and I was like, you should have mentioned that.
Well, and then he took the kid's phone too when he said he threw it away.
Right. Yeah. Which actually ends up saving their lives in the end.
Right.
Yeah. And so I thought that was neat. And okay, so let's maybe get to the end then.
And then the original title for this film was called They Listen.
Yes.
It wasn't called Afraid.
Yeah. And what is it? I think Afraid's a better title.
It is.
They Listen implies like multitudes instead of just the one. So I'm not sure where the original title would have come from. Maybe they changed some stuff.
But Afraid also lends to this being a cautionary tale. Like there is things that you legitimately need to be scared of.
Yeah. I mean, I think they should have called it Terrified.
So should this have been Terrifier 3?
Terrifier for real. The fourth one. They put the number in there instead of the word for.
More interesting than Art the Clown.
God. What isn't? I've watched paint dry that was more interesting than Art the Clown. So we get to the end and they've escaped, and the couple that held them at gunpoint is getting held accountable, and they're going to go to jail.
Yeah.
And you think it's all a happy thing, and then the EMT leans out of where the kids are and says, "Is there anything we should know about aside from Cal's AFib?" Which is something that no one should know about.
Right.
And that's what you see, just them turn and look at each other, and it's like, oh, this is not I was gearing up for there to be more happening.
Right.
And that's just where it ends. Is Aya's in the cloud. She was never in that device. That's not how it works.
Right.
She is in the internet, in the ether, and the only way to shut her down is to disconnect every computer in the world.
Yep.
That's it. That's the only way out. And I was just like, this is more depressing than the end of The Mist. Because at the end of The Mist, at least those people are at rest. But you are now the puppets of a computer program, and there's no way out, and then you have to ride in a Tesla. And I've actually driven a Tesla Model X, the one that has the gull wing doors.
Oh, okay.
That is pretty cool. I do like that.
Okay.
And it was a fun experience.
Good.
I would not want to own one though, for many reasons. Mostly because I like real cars. But anyway, if dinosaurs aren't exploding under the hood, Andy, is it even a vehicle? You know? So, getting to that ending and seeing that it's like, no, they just kind of have to accept that they're done. And there's no way out of this.
They've given up. The bad guys have won. Which another reason why I like this film. The bad guys win.
This does not have a happy-go-lucky, peace. Everyone's at peace ending, and it's
the thing in the credits is even more terrifying.
Yeah, because it's a YouTuber.
Right.
Anyway, check out my YouTube channel. It's called Play Along. My wife and I play video games. But the
shameless plug.
What if I had any shame? We wouldn't be doing this show.
So what does that say about me doing this with you?
Oh no, I convinced you and dragged you into this cursed existence where every week you have to sit down and watch something.
Not really. All you said was, "I want to do this podcast." None of the other GMs would do it before you. Do you want to? I said yes.
Yeah.
Didn't take much thinking on my part.
Oh, I didn't say it took a lot of effort. I'm just saying that there was dragging involved.
No, there wasn't. Don't flatter yourself.
That's right. I forgot I have no influence here. But yeah, I think the ending is the best part of the movie. It's super depressing, and I look forward to having that happen for real next year. You have any other notes on this one?
No, I generally just had like the people that were in it, and I wrote down it's a high tech invasion of the body snatchers. The original title was They Listen, and then a couple of the things I have for like news wise. One of which like flashed on my phone right before we started recording, and I was like, "Oh, this is."
Okay, before we do that, I have one more note that one thing that I think the movie kind of skips over, which is it kind of sets up for there to be this conflict between Curtis and Meredith a little bit more with the girl who voices the AI.
Well, that almost how I had like tried to blackmail him for a second by sending. Right. The wife a video of him supposedly cheating, which he really wasn't.
Right. That was again, emotional manipulation, all of these things. And I thought it was they set up earlier when he's like, we need to shut this off. And she just throws out there randomly, I bet you could find the porn you like. And it was like, is this going to be a plot point or whatever? No, it just never comes back up.
Yeah, they
kind of
dropped it.
What that was about.
It's in the unedited version.
Probably, it might be. Yeah, I don't want to watch that if I'm going to have to watch another person watch porn. That's so many levels of weird and wrong. But yeah, I did think that was one thing that it kind of like I don't know if it got cut. It didn't feel like anything got cut out. It felt very tight and cohesive. That was the only thing.
And it probably what made it from an R to a PG-13.
Maybe so. Yeah,
because I think. When this was all said and done, it might have been an R-rated film.
Yeah. And the interesting thing about that is if they had more of that sort of stuff in this, it doesn't just change the rating, it changes Curtis's character.
Yeah.
So as it is now...
he's not very likable.
Right. As it is now, he plays as a kind of
anti-hero.
Off man, but he loves his family. You can tell that he's he's looking out for them and stuff. But if you throw in the quiggle of like... Oh, and he's also this porn-addicted moron. Then it's like, well, do we root for him? Do we not root for him? Like, I don't know, because depending on who you are, some people count that as infidelity,
right?
And it has ended many marriages,
right?
And so that ends abruptly with that, like, just throws it out there, and then she's like, I gotta get back to my real job doing laundry, and it's like. Okay, so there's going to be this conflict between them, and that's going to be more of the story, but it doesn't materialize in any real way, I don't think.
No.
So that's the only thing that I thought was kind of like, okay. It's not a huge complaint, but it is just like, it sticks out a little bit.
It was just a lot better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, overall.
Yeah.
Okay. You had news.
So this is I got to talk about this because I was looking at this a lot this morning when I was here. And there's a movie coming out October the 11th. I don't think it's going to get a big theatrical release, although I really want to play it here just to annoy a whole bunch of different people. It's called The Apprentice.
Oh,
and it's a Trump movie.
Yep.
And Sebastian Stan plays Donald Trump. And it's already like it made regular news, not just movie news, for how this is going to play out, how it's going to affect the campaign of Trump. And I really want to play it. But
just to stir the pot, or
yes, but I shouldn't either because I will get even more hate mail than I do now for not playing Firing Squad at the beginning of this month, which, by the way, was not our fault. That was the studio. They screwed up. I tried.
I blame you anyway.
Thanks, and so did everybody else.
Yeah, There is no individuality.
And how I
Andy.
say how I got
only
blamed,
conformity.
how I got blamed this past week for Horizon Part 2.
Did you really?
Yeah. Yeah, I got a complaint that it was my fault that we're not playing it. And I was like, well,
That's
I'm kind
so
of flattered
stupid.
because then you think I'm the head of Warner Brothers Studio that has more power than I just control a very small 6-screen theater in Belton, Texas. That's it. I don't control
And
a
control
studio.
is a very loose term.
Right.
I mean,
when it comes down to it, I do what I'm told.
everyone here is an individual, and you really can't control what they do moment to moment.
Maybe I need Aya in here.
Well, you are the only person with eyes all over the theater from your office, so
And from home, because I have that on my phone.
maybe just start giving people points if they do their job. And then you could convert those points to dollars. That way, what they do will determine their pay.
Yeah, it's called a raise.
Oh, right. I've been self-employed for so long, I forgot how payment
Well,
works.
I have a couple employees go, raise? What's that? Well, if you actually worked better, I would give you more money.
Look, Andy, I'm just saying I can't support my family like this. This podcast makes no money.
Yeah, I know, but it's for our own personal amusement more than anything, and the amusement of our staff.
Yep.
So that was the first. Like I thought this was interesting, and I really want to see it.
It got acquired by someone recently because, like, I think they made it and then they were like, "We want hands off of this." So
Yeah,
they sold
Briarcliff
it.
Entertainment is the one that picked it up.
Yeah, who had it before that? It was.
I didn't see enough of the article to actually.
Yeah,
I was skimming parts of it and reading like selectively, and I was like, yeah, I definitely gotta find out where this is playing and go see it.
we're so good at journalism.
Well, it's hard when I'm doing like 5 different things in my office and I'm trying to get ready for the podcast today, and that came across, and I'm like, oh, I need to spend more time with this. Wait a minute, I got to order this for the theater. Wait a minute, I got to do this too. Okay, I got a problem with staffing today. Okay, and then I go back. Okay, Trump again. What am I doing here?
See, it's funny. I have here in my notes that people came to hear the news, not your excuses. So I can't beep that out. It was visual. Okay, I'm so sorry.
It was like that for a reason.
I saw the opportunity, I took it, and now I feel bad. So as an apology, would you like to hear the news I have?
Well, I have like not Beetlejuice spoilers, but Beetlejuice things that I've read throughout the week that everybody probably knows anyway, but there are not going to be, you still haven't seen this movie yet, so it means nothing to you. Yeah, you better do your homework before next week.
I will, I swear.
Speaking of which, did you watch the original Crow?
I will, I swear this time.
You didn't even do that.
Now, hold on. No, I didn't.
Yeah. So anyway, Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis's character from the original, The Maitlands, they are not going to be in this new one.
That is correct. I read that too.
I thought there might have been a chance for that. Tim Burton said they didn't fit into the story. There was no reason to do it.
That gives me a lot of hope.
Yeah.
For it not being just like, because I think I read the same thing. He's like, there's some fan service in there, but I had to have a limit.
Right. That's what Burton said. Tim Burton's already said there's not going to be a third one.
I think he jokingly said, I'll be 100 by the time I get around to it, so don't count on it.
And then now the projection on this has gone up to between 81 and 94 million opening weekend.
Wow.
They're really like, and it opened at Venice Film Festival this past week. It got really good reviews.
Cool.
And oddly enough
so we don't have to see it then. It's already been reviewed.
No, we still have to see it. Oddly enough, the same kind of reviews that the original one got, that it's this strange, quirky film, but it works. Michael Keaton's really good. And that's the same things I'm reading for this one too. So it's going to be a fun ride.
I read earlier today that Tim Burton was talking about how he had become completely disillusioned with the studios and all of that. And he was like,
I can't say I blame him.
I can't either. He almost quit after Dumbo. He said he almost retired.
Well, did you see Dumbo?
No, but I saw enough of Dumbo in clips and pieces to go, I would retire. You should give up. Give it up, bud.
Dumbo's pretty bad.
And so, but I did see that, yeah, he was like, I went back to doing it like I used to, where it's much more improvisational on set, and we're writing and changing things as we go along, as we think of ideas that make things better. And so,
Right.
So yeah, I'm excited for that, in that regards. Cause yeah, there's that scrappy filmmaker stuff, really does produce some of the most interesting, creative things that we have in film history. I like that idea.
I generally like most of Tim Burton stuff that he does too. Like I really like Mars Attacks.
Mars Attacks is great.
I think that's a great underrated film of his.
It really is.
I like Sweeney Todd that he did with Johnny Depp.
I don't like musicals, but I did like Sweeney Todd.
I gave it a lot of refunds because it was a musical. Like everybody came out 10 minutes later. I didn't realize this was going to be a musical. I want my money back. I'm like, you're an idiot. Like seriously, how do you not know that? And I like a film he did with Amy Adams too called Big Eyes.
Oh, Big Eyes is great.
Yeah, not a lot of people saw that.
Yeah.
And it's a really, really good movie.
It's very good. Christoph Waltz is fantastic.
Yes.
And it's Amy Adams, right? Amy
Yeah.
Adams is great. That is a good movie.
Yeah.
And it's like it's
surprising that it's a Tim Burton film.
It's surprisingly tame in the weird department. It's got just enough of it that you're like, there he is. You kind of see him poking up and going, I'm Tim Burton.
I still love Frank and Weenie. I absolutely love that. Just for my love of dogs and their 1950 sci-fi and stuff like that. It's great. And then the other one that he did too that I can't remember right now. Shoot. Okay.
I can't remember either. It's not Coraline. Everyone thinks he was Coraline.
No. And it's not. He did not do Nightmare Before Christmas. Everybody gives him. Henry Selick was the guy that directed that. Yep. It was just Tim Burton's idea.
And a lot of, the visual styling and stuff. So I get why people think that, but yeah, it wasn't Tim Burton.
But Tim Burton did do Corpse Bride.
That's right, yeah. Yeah.
And
those two movies look a lot alike.
Well, the stop motion animation and everything, yeah. And Tim Burton had some fights with Warner Brothers over Corpse Bride too.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah, they weren't digging it, and they didn't like the stuff that they saw, and he was getting extremely upset. And then he's got a great cameo in a movie called Singles that I really like.
Singles?
Yeah, it's a Cameron Crowe film. It's generally a honest look at dating in the Seattle music scene in like the early 90s.
That's an entirely devastating topic to even think about. First off, Seattle.
But one of the characters is doing a video dating service, and the girl that she's telling this to, that's selling her this package or whatever, she's like, I can get this guy behind me to direct your video. He's only like the next Martin Scorsese, and it's Tim Burton. And she's like, $10 and he can do it for you. And he lifts up his head for 2 seconds and says, 20.
That's pretty good.
And that's all. He has a great cameo, and probably the only person that knows like that movie or even that cameo, but it's awesome.
Yeah, I hadn't even heard of that.
It's a really good movie. Okay. It's not crazy.
I'll put it on the list.
There are some great live performances in that by Allison Chains, Soundgarden.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And Cameron Crowe is definitely one of my favorite directors. I really like the stuff that he does. Like We Bought a Zoo.
That's right. Yeah, that one did not do super well, but I heard it was really good.
It did better than you think it did.
Okay, well then never mind.
Okay.
All right, let's move on to
Jurassic.
Not yet. I'm gonna get there, but I do have a note here that I'd just like to debunk some clickbait stuff real quick. If you'll allow me.
Yeah, sure.
Justin Theroux is teasing a potential Tropic Thunder sequel with Robert Downey Jr. game to return. This is
that's bull.
Not true,
right?
Because he said what Justin Theroux said was, we've gone through so many movements in Hollywood that I think those would somehow be in the mix. Listen, if an idea strikes me like it struck Tim Burton, it's where it's like, oh, this could be a sequel. I'll definitely do a sequel. But he didn't tease that one's coming. That's bullcrap and not what it said.
I'd love it if they did a sequel to Tropic Thunder, but I don't see it happening. Because that movie angered a lot of people.
Oh yeah, you couldn't do that now. Like I hate to sound like the guy's like, oh, you can't say anything anymore since they outlawed the N-word.
Yeah,
but that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that movie, you can't say that now.
Well, it's just the politically correctness of even it's. I don't even think it's that old.
It's like 2008.
Yeah. Yeah, you just can't do that now.
Nope. Another thing to kind of debunk, or at least say this is not actual news, you idiots. Thanks to JoeBlow.com, where I got all these. Channing Tatum explains that Gambit's accent was supposed to be sometimes unintelligible. Yeah, we know. That's the joke.
Right.
You freaking idiots. If you had to have that explained to you, I'm sorry.
You're even dumber than the Deadpool Wolverine audience.
I hope you got half off your lobotomy, you mindless ding dong.
Or the people that didn't understand Sucker Punch, like the end of Sucker Punch, and I had to explain that to people.
Yeah, that was
seriously. Why you did not get that?
You didn't understand the lobotomy thing?
Yeah.
Did you know? This is one of my favorite fun facts just about history. Did you know that the guy who invented the lobotomy literally drove around the country in what he called the lobotomobile?
Yes.
And toured around to mental health hospitals and taught people to do these lobotomies. And the lobotomobile is so much fun to say.
I want that on a collector cup.
Hey, my wife's a ceramicist. I could probably get you one made. And then Winona Ryder blames social media for youth's short attention spans and not caring about film.
Yeah, I read that briefly, but she's criticizing co-stars and other actors and actresses for not being cinephiles.
Yeah.
And I was like, that doesn't shock me because, like I've said before, there's so many managers of movie theaters that I've run into that hate movies and don't like them, and it's literally just a job for them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how? Like, honestly, I love movies. That's why I am a manager of a movie theater.
Right. Yeah.
I'm doing exactly what I want to do. I might not make the most money in the world. I don't care because I love my job.
Right. Yeah. And I don't make money at all, but I love my job, which is to make images
and make our commercials
and make the commercials here.
Back to news.
Winona Ryder, she said something about how she was on set with Jenna Ortega, who was talking about a scene they were filming for Beetlejuice and referenced some movie that I cannot remember the name of right now. But she was like, "Oh, this girl gets it." Like she actually loves film and stuff like that.
That's what they said in Vegas when they had everybody for CinemaCon. Like Tim Burton said, it was just great working with everybody, and Michael Keaton said that too. That they didn't have to coach like the new people on how to interact with everybody, and everything just clicked naturally on the set. And then when they were filming, and it just flowed, and they had such a great time making it.
Cool. Yeah. That makes me more excited for it than anything else. Like hearing that people are like, no, this was working. Like we all felt it. It's like, that's always good.
You're going to be able to tell.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not something anyone felt when filming the 1999 Godzilla. I can tell you that.
Or Borderlands.
Or Borderlands. Or The Crow. Apparently Vin Diesel's coming back for a new Chronicles of Riddick movie. It's called Riddick Furia? I hope it's not Furia.
Riddick Furiosa.
It kind of looks like that, yeah. So the new film's going to tell the story.
Well, they're both bald.
Is Vin Diesel the same as Charlize Theron? I think so. Riddick finally returns to his homeworld, a place he barely remembers and one he fears might be left in ruins. But there he finds other Furians fighting for their existence against a new monster. And some of these Furians are more like Riddick than he could have ever imagined. They also shave their heads. No, I haven't seen any of these movies. Have you seen the?
Yeah, I've seen all of them.
Are they good?
I have them all.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah, but Pitch Black was the original idea. And they've kind of some of the sequels haven't been as successful, especially the Chronicles of Riddick, the second one. Universal sank a lot of money into that, and it bombed. I think just because they over exaggerated on the story a lot, but it's really cool to watch.
Okay,
and then the third one is very small scale again, like Pitch Black was, but it had a decent story and it had decent special effects, and it's cool to watch and it's not boring.
Okay.
So
I have thought about checking these out a couple of times because I've heard good things.
If anything, watch Pitch Black.
Okay.
Pitch Black is a neat movie. Yeah.
I know that this is like Vin Diesel's passion project is always coming back to these films.
That and Hannibal.
We don't have to talk about that. We also don't have to talk about Bloodshot because we weren't doing this podcast when that came out. And thank God for small mercies. Jurassic World. We've got the next movie. It's called Rebirth. Which sounds odd.
Because it's not, it's already out there.
Yeah, it's
like the X-Files.
You know what? I was being weirded out because I was thinking of the word afterbirth, which is infinitely worse.
What is wrong with you?
The doctors still don't know.
I can tell.
So, Jurassic World Rebirth sees an intrepid team racing to secure DNA samples from the three most colossal creatures across land, sea, and air. 5 years after the events of Jurassic World Dominion, the planet's ecology has proven largely inhospitable to dinosaurs. Those remaining exist in isolated equatorial environments with climates resembling that in which they once thrived.
The island.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is going to be Jurassic Park 3 again.
But I think that though it says the three most colossal creatures within that tropical biosphere hold the key to a drug that will bring miraculous life-saving benefits to humankind. This does allow anywhere along the equator they can set this stuff.
So they're combining this with the premise of Deep Blue Sea. Because that's pretty much what the thing for Deep Blue Sea was. They were genetically altering sharks to produce a chemical that would stop Alzheimer's. Until the sharks got smart enough to start eating everybody that was around them.
You know, I never thought about how dumb that plot was until just now. Something about having it explained in plain English like that was just like, are we as a species stupid?
Yes. Let me answer that. Yes.
I think there's you know,
and we're gerbils too.
The other thing though is this is being directed by Gareth Edwards, and the whole idea
kind of like
Gareth Edwards does scale really well, and I sound like every film guy on YouTube right now, but scale is something that he does really well. If you look at Rogue One and how big the AT-ATs feel and all that stuff, he's really good at that. And the fact that they're playing into that, and it's like this is about three distinct giant creatures that have been unleashed on the world, and how we're going to deal with that. I think that's a really interesting idea.
Okay.
And visually, I think it will be more interesting than Dominion was. Dominion, I didn't care.
Dominion was okay, but like my main complaint with that is it was like three good scenes that they generated a movie around.
Yes.
And you can tell what the three good scenes were, and that everything else just didn't quite fit.
Yep. And I, it was constructed to include all of the nostalgia because I don't know if they thought it was going to be the last one or whatever, but then it made it.
That was the plan, actually. There was not going to be any more after that.
But then they saw the
the dollar signs.
Now, if this stone does in fact hold any more blood, could we squeeze it out of it?
The problem, you can only go to the well so many times with these things, though, and eventually they're going to run out.
Yes, but
that Meet the Fockers little series that needed to
that
die.
does get progressively worse.
Yes,
the first one's
it does.
great though. The first one,
my wife loves those films, and I like the first one. After that, no, they're horrible.
Yeah, they get progressively worse.
Yeah,
the last one is the whole thing with.
I didn't even bother
with Owen Wilson is so contrived, and anyway. I think this will be interesting. I like Gareth Edwards' work. I like, especially when he gets to finish it.
Because he did Godzilla.
He did Godzilla, and he did most of Rogue One until he got kicked off, and they brought someone else in to finish it.
See, I liked Rogue One.
I like it to an extent.
I think that was probably the last Star Wars film that I really liked.
The blind Jedi, not Jedi thing, I always thought was kind of like, whatever.
No, because
I like his character.
That goes back to the Zatoichi films of Japan and the Blind Swordsman. That's what it reminds me of.
That's neat, but it's not how. Are you Jedi? Are you not a Jedi? How can you have the Force but not be a Jedi? Like what? Are you, and how do you not know what you are?
It doesn't bother me as much as it bothers you.
That's because I love the prequels more than anyone in the world.
1, 2, and 3? Yeah. See, I like 1, 2, and 3.
Okay, do you really?
Yes, I do. I don't have a problem with those.
Finally, shame we can share.
I know. I get so much crap from people about you actually like 1, especially 2. Like Attack of the Clones, that's an abomination. That film is horrible.
That film's great.
Lucas said before that film came out that it was going to be more of a love story than anything.
Yeah.
And I was fine with that. And that film played out exactly like I thought it would.
And my favorite parts of that film are not the love story things because, look, it's cringy. It's uncomfortable and weird. She's 10 years older than him.
Yeah.
But he looks like now he's, and it's coarse and rough, and it gets everywhere.
And everybody can pick on Revenge of the Sith as much as you want, but if you saw it, tell me you weren't dead silent when that table rises and Vader is on it and comes up.
That movie, so Spider-Man 2 and Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
Those two movies are like the biggest influences on me wanting to get into filmmaking.
Okay.
Those two are it, because the whole fight scene on Mustafar is such an incredible mix of VFX, special effects, green screen or blue screen filming, fight choreography, music, like everything about that.
And
whole
Lucas was
Mustafar
very
thing.
happy about all that too.
He
I
should
remember.
be.
Yeah.
That's the best work he's ever done.
Yes.
It's incredible.
To the point that he doesn't have to make another film ever again.
Right, yeah. and like, yes, there are problems with the prequels, but the whole concept of showing how the Sith took over the galaxy, and it wasn't with their laser swords.
Right.
It was through cunning, diabolical,
Manipulation.
manipulative politics.
Yeah.
It's like that.
It's like Trump.
That's brilliant. And you're gonna get us in trouble, man. And so I love the plan and getting to see that play out and seeing how you think there's two sides, but there's one, and you all lose.
Right.
And like that was such a brilliant thing to do, and it's done where there's enough of it that you can understand it, and then they cut to the laser swords for the kids. And as a child myself, now I still love that.
I was really kind of sad that I didn't watch Phantom Menace when we had it here at the beginning of May. I really wanted to see that again on a big screen. I just missed the opportunity.
Duel of the Fates in a big sound system is. I listen to that for fun at home. When I'm writing, Duel of the Fates comes on, and that's why every single thing I've ever written, I have to cut lightsabers out of.
Because I really like the pod racing scene. I really like the Senate scenes. I like seeing the ET in like the lower right hand corner, and their delegates. And there's so much stuff in that film. Like even as many times as I've seen it, I can always find something different and new, and it's just really cool. Like Lucas definitely does a good job with those.
And Hayden Christensen, probably not the best actor you could have picked,
but
you know what? That face that he makes when he turns around and he's got the cloak on, and he turns, and it was in the trailer, and his eyes are more yellow in the trailer than they are in the movie.
He has that scar.
He's got the scar, and you just see that face was perfect,
right?
Anywho, I'm looking forward to seeing dinosaurs when Jurassic World Rebirth comes out, and I shouldn't be excited for this, and I understand that, but there is just a part of me that's like,
well, it's June of next year.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh goodness, yeah, that's coming soon. Apparently, Glenn Powell was offered a role, but he turned it down because he felt his presence in the movie wouldn't help it. I don't know what that means.
That's not a good thing. That means it's a bad script.
That's the thing, though.
And even him, Twisters was a bad script too, and that didn't stop people from going to see it.
He very specifically said, "I don't feel my presence in the movie would help it, but the script is great." I don't know if that's true, but that's what he said.
His agent wrote that.
You might be right. Sigourney Weaver is going to be in The Mandalorian and Grogu.
Yay.
Yep. Did you see the...
So why wasn't she in Alien Romulus when she should have been?
Who cares?
Which, by the way, we lost this week already.
I know, it's so sad. That movie is really good.
It is.
People are stupid. Stop supporting the Emoji Movie and go watch.
Well, stop going to see Twisters.
Is it still going?
Yes.
Is it still here?
Yes.
That's incredible.
I think it's getting tied up there with Godzilla versus Kong: The New Empire as our longest running film this year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's right. That movie was here for a while.
Because we had nothing else like family related at that time. That was the only thing we had close enough to that.
There's a Predator movie, Predator Badlands.
Yeah, World War I or II? I think it's World War I.
Yeah, it's I think it's World War I. But they said that Elle Fanning has been cast in the film, so that was revealed in June. Elle Fanning, she did a show called The Great, and she's really good in that. I think she's
that's with the
Knowlton.
Nicholas Hoult.
Nicholas Hoult. Yep.
Yes,
I had some of the right sounds.
He was. His first thing was he was a little boy in a movie about a boy with Hugh Grant, which is a great movie if you've never seen it.
And then he was Beast. in the
Or Jack the Giant Slayer was one that he did too.
That's right.
Warm Bodies. Warm Bodies is actually a much better film than it sounds.
Funny enough, guess who wrote Warm Bodies? Chris Weitz, the director of AfrAId.
Oh, there we
He wrote Warm Bodies. He also wrote the Pinocchio remake and the Cinderella remake. I'm so sorry. No, he wasn't involved in Warm Bodies. The director of photography for AfrAId was the DOP for Warm Bodies.
Oh, okay.
Also, the guy who did the Goosebumps movie.
Which I've never seen.
And honestly, surprisingly fun for a kid's
Drew
film.
loves both of those.
I didn't watch the second one, but
Okay.
but also the DP for AfrAId was also the DP for the Poltergeist remake, Thor Ragnarok, and The Road, the one with Aragorn.
With Viggo Mortensen. That's a depressing movie.
Yeah, well, same cinematographer as AfrAId.
Yeah, but he needs to not advertise what was not The Road, but the Poltergeist remake. Yeah, that's something you need to be stricken off of your resume.
Unfortunately, IMDb, other people give you the credits for it. It's very annoying.
That film's awful.
But yeah, Predator Badlands, apparently there was a casting call that kind of leaked some information. So it was for a lead actress who could take on the dual role of twin sisters Thea and Tessa. It's for a dual character. The character identifies as female or non-binary, open ethnicity, mid-20s to mid-40s. Thea has spent most of her life in a laboratory and is now embarking on her first big adventure in the world. She's incredibly smart, witty, enthusiastic, and unflappable. She has an innate disregard for danger, not because she's fearless, but simply because she's naive. Strong comedy chops required. The other sister, Tessa, has a militant intensity when it comes to achieving her family's goals and mission objectives. She will not let anything get in her way, not even her twin sister. What does this have to do with Predator?
Got me. But the last one was good that they did for Prey.
Prey was good. Yeah.
Like I didn't expect that film to be any good at all.
I didn't either, but it's got some cool stuff in it.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. Let's see. All right, last thing. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 trailer came out.
Yep, I saw.
What did you think?
It looks like the rest of them.
It does, but I've got to give credit where it's due. I grew up playing the Sonic the Hedgehog video
I've never
game.
played any of the games. So, I saw the first film. I liked the first film. I didn't see the second one for one reason or another. But, this first trailer that I saw, it looks like fun. It's not going to be... It's going to do super business.
Oh, sure, yeah. The first one, I think, is a bad Sonic movie, but an okay kids movie.
Okay.
The second one is... more of that, and really, but it has a giant Eggman robot at the end, like a giant Eggman robot, and that's great. Like when it fully embraces the Sonicness of it instead of the I'm Ben Schwartz and I do comedy part of it. And I love Ben Schwartz. Like I think Ben Schwartz is hilarious, but they lean too much into that with Sonic's character, I think. There's none of the 90s attitude. It's just 2000s attitude and 2020s attitude.
Okay.
But the stuff that they did with Shadow the Hedgehog and the way he's animated, the way he moves, the teleporting, the grabbing of Knuckles, hand and crushing it and twisting it, all of that is so very correct for Shadow the Hedgehog.
Okay.
It's really, really cool.
Okay.
And it is hitting the nostalgia button in me that nothing has hit in a long time.
Oh, nice.
And
something that
I'm absolutely going to start playing the Shadow the Hedgehog video game on Play Along now because I want to go back and revisit that. And there is something so funny to me about a hedgehog who can use guns. Because most of that game you are picking up guns and skating around as Shadow the Hedgehog shooting people.
So did you watch the Knuckles limited series on Paramount?
I did not.
Okay. I didn't either, but
I heard that Knuckles is barely in it. It's mostly the Adam Polly, whatever character he is. It's like mostly his show, from what I've heard. So, I don't know. Like, I don't care about these movies necessarily, but I love. Well, Shadow the Hedgehog is one of those great character designs.
At least Carrie came to his senses and came back, because initially the first thing was he was not going to be in the third one. Yeah. And then I'm sure they gave him a big old bag of cash, and he was like, well, what am I thinking? Yes, of course I should be in the third one.
That. Yeah. Yeah, he finally is really starting to look like Eggman, and I love that they're going for it. He's put on the weight and all that stuff. I was like, It's great. Okay, yeah, the first one I didn't like because I was like, he doesn't look like Eggman at all. But like, okay, if they were always planning on doing this building up to it, then great. You know, that's fun. Sure, why not? The the establishing of him as this beach ball with tiny legs and a giant mustache. Gosh, Sonic is so dumb. Everything about Sonic the Hedgehog is the dumbest thing you can imagine, and I love it. And so, except for the fan fiction, which is, how do I put this? Pornographic and disturbing.
Ooh.
So
okay.
But everything else about Sonic the Hedgehog, wholesome and hilarious.
Oh, and then the trailer dropped for Lord of the Rings Battle Over Here.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. It's on IMDb.
Okay, I'm going to have to go check that out.
So it's animated.
Yep.
And it is an anime person that did it.
Huh.
It doesn't look bad. I'm not sure how this is going to go over. Like, I'd sit and watch it, to be honest, but...
Is this something we should look at? I think it'd be an interesting one to review.
Yeah. Well, because it's going to come out in December too, where our choices are going to be Kraven the Hunter, which we started laughing at last night.
As soon as the Sony logo came on at the beginning of AfrAId, I was like, I leaned over, I was just like, it really makes me wish we were watching Kraven the Hunter right now. And you're like, what's wrong with you? I was like, it would be funny.
But it's going to be that, and then Sonic and Mufasa.
I don't want to see that at all. I have no interest in that movie, not even a little bit.
Then we do Sonic instead of Mufasa.
That works for me. Yeah.
And then
I'd much rather do Sonic.
Nosferatu.
Nosferatu. Yeah.
That I will pay to go see that if we don't get it.
Yeah, that one's going to be interesting. I definitely want to talk because like that. There's different types of movies, right? Like when we talk about on the show, like, is it worth your time or not? We try to put that in the context of for what it is. And if just because Despicable Me 4 is not the same cinema as Alien Romulus does not mean Despicable Me 4 is not worth seeing if you're in the mood for that kind of movie. There are definitely times where I'm in the mood to see absolutely terrible garbage where I'll go watch Monster Trucks. Because it's such a dumb idea that some executive, this is the real story, his 4-year-old son came up with the idea and he thought, kids will buy that. And they went and made a movie out of it. Like, it was just a dumb thing a 4-year-old said, and they made a movie. And that's so dumb, and I love it for that. Just because, like, who gives a 4-year-old an idea for a movie? A 4-year-old's idea for a movie a chance. That's a ridiculous thing and is a real weird one-off. But then there are other times where it's like, I want to see something that is truly a work of art, and that's when I put on G-Force. And
see, you need to watch Space Invaders.
Space Invaders? Is that
Space Invaders. I've talked about that before.
Oh, why does that not sound familiar?
It's a good bad movie you'll love.
Okay.
Trust me.
All right, Space Invaders.
Yeah, it's
on the list.
These aliens that get separated from their invasion armada pick up on a broadcast of War of the Worlds on Earth from Halloween night.
Yeah,
and they show up.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I gotta check that out.
It's stupid and funny. It really is.
Okay, cool. But yeah, no, there's times where I want to watch something. Lord of the Rings is a great example of that. That's pure cinema. Like, not to fangirl over it too much, but it's true.
So Nosferatu is going to be interesting for me because I love the F.W. Murnau silent black and white version, and I'm hoping with that film coming out, somebody decides to release Shadow of the Vampire on home video streaming something. Shadow of the Vampire is a really cool movie with William Dafoe, and it's based on the idea, and John Malkovich is in it too. It's the idea that F.W. Murnau enlisted a real vampire to play Count Orlok in F.W. Murnau and started offering up the cast and crew to this vampire to get this film made.
That's funny.
And it's done tongue-in-cheek, but not to the point that it's ridiculous. Uh-huh. And, of course, it's Malkovich and William Dafoe. So
right, yeah.
And it's a great film, but it's not available anywhere.
Okay. It was nominated for Academy Award for Best Makeup. It lost to How the Grinch Stole Christmas, which I think got an Academy Award simply for the to stop Jim Carrey from burning the entire town down. I know a guy who worked on this movie, who worked on The Grinch, and
can you tell him I hated it? I really
wasn't
did.
his fault. He was just an extra. But
I hated that movie.
he was like Jim Carrey was always miserable at every single point.
I understand
why.
why.
He was completely miserable, and he was so grumpy, and everyone was we just felt bad for him because like we can't do anything to help him, and it's not his fault. But like, of course, you're in a bad mood. You're dying.
Don't sign on to do this movie.
But the bags of cash.
I get that. That's Eddie Murphy did the best defense because even he said, he got that script and what? How dare you bring me to? Oh, they're going to pay me how much? Leave me to the set.
Right. Yeah. The thing that I can't imagine is why on earth did he do The Adventures of Pluto Nash?
Or Meet Dave.
I
think Meet Dave is even worse.
Yeah. Meet Dave is definitely.
Although Axel F on Netflix isn't too bad. I kind of liked it. Yeah.
Also, I'm one of the few people who defends Norbit as a ridiculously stupid, dumb, fun movie.
Actually, I like Norbit.
You want to see him go down the slide? I'll show you how go down the slide. How you doing?
But it's really sad that he lost out to get an Academy Award that year for Dreamgirls because of Norbit.
Yep.
Like, that's literally, he got shunned, and he really should have been nominated for Dreamgirls, and he should have won because it's probably, outside of Mr. Church, the best acting job we will ever see him do. And because he did Norbit and people hated it, they snubbed him completely. And I thought that was just such an injustice.
There is a severe lack of guilty pleasure, fun, dumb comedy movies from the 2000s had so many of those that are just like, why did you make this? But I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
And now it's like, what do we get? The one where John Cena's in a firehouse and it's just like, well, I'd rather die than have to sit
Playing
through
with
this.
Fire?
Playing with Fire, yeah.
Wait till Drew's hears this, but that's like one of his favorite films.
Well, Drew, I'm sorry.
And
it's not one of mine.
he dragged, we came here and saw it. It was my wife, Isis, my daughter, and me and him. And the three of us outside of Drew are like looking at our watches. When is this going to be? And he's there glued to the screen. He owns it. He watches it every time it comes on streaming. And we keep telling him that is the worst film ever. Even my wife tells him that movie sucks, Drew. And he's like, no, you are wrong. I will prove to you that this is cinematic gold.
There is truly something out there for everyone.
Yeah, there is.
You know what's out there for us, Andy?
The end.
The end of this show. You are correct. All right, cool. Well, thanks everyone for listening.
Thank you.
If you made it this far, I'm sorry. Make sure you find us on Facebook and Instagram at Grand Review Pod, and just let us know what you thought of these movies. We'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
Next week we'll be here for Beetlejuice.
That's right. It's coming. I have to go watch the first one tonight.
You better.
I swear on my mother's left shoe.
I
was like,
careful what you say.
I was about to say I might be overselling this just a little bit. I'm going to watch Beetlejuice this week. I will do it. And then we also need to watch 10,000 Beavers.
Oh, thousands of beavers.
Thousands of beavers. Yes. Yeah. I would love to actually see that this week.
I might actually just watch that in my office before we watch Beetlejuice.
Alrighty. Well, thanks for listening.
Thank you.
We think that you're all wonderful, wonderful people, and
we appreciate you.
We will absolutely see you at
the movies.
Bye-bye.
Bye.